恢復會議啦。
The meeting is resumed. Second round. Mr. Ray Chan, yes, I hope that I'll be able to finish at 8:30, but it depends on the number of members speaking. Mr. Alvin Young, before I speak, may I say that, well, the original scheduled time is 7:30, and now the chairman thinks that it will end at 8:30. Based on what? According to arrangements of House committees, there is no ending time. I have given you notice. It's only my estimate. I may not be able to accurately estimate the time when we end, and there are about a dozen members who have indicated to speak, and I will try to let members speak. Let me ask, 8:30 is your decision? Is a line, or if there are still members waiting to speak at 8:30, what will you do? Adjourn or what? That depends. Mr. Tommy Zhang? I don't want to restrict members' time. I'd rather we work till late. Mr. Charles Mock? Previously, there was this estimate, and now you've added 2 hours to it. Members on either side may not be able to stay on, and this is very important, so it's not appropriate. It was said that if there is not enough time this evening, then we will continue tomorrow. That is very unfair because some members have made arrangements or plans. This is now going to be 8:30. Yes, I understand, Mr. Andrew Wen. That's exactly what is happening to me. I have made plans. Well, those who are directly elected will understand. I have to be in Tuen Mun for a residents' meeting at 8:30. 100 people are waiting for me. But however, when it comes to your rash decision, your dominating decision that it has affected my position, Ms. Claudia Mo, you said that there is no rule when it comes to that, but at least you need to have some principle. You said 7:30, and now so that there's an error of judgment. It's going to be 8:30. When asked, you said let's wait and see. So it can be 9:30, 10:30, 11:00, or maybe after midnight. I really can't. That is beyond my wildest imagination. Mr. Eddie Ju, you said that there is no need for us to decide, to make a decision or vote, because it's only for us to express our views. Mr. Chan Kim-po said that he would spend half of the time on the FC and the other half of the time on HC. Well, we haven't had dinner, and we're all here with you. How about tomorrow, Ms. Tanya Chan? I'm also going to talk about time. You said that at 9 o'clock there will be an FC. Well, at 8 o'clock, even for a council meeting, the meeting will adjourn to be continued at 9 o'clock the next day. So I hope that you will give us time to prepare ourselves for the FC tomorrow. Mr. Ray Chan, I identify with something the legal advisor said. The House Committee today is a chance for members to express views on amendments, and there is no preconceived stance on the part of the legal advisor. I am willing to stay on, but give me sufficient time for me. At least for my amendments, give me time to explain. Of course, if you can give members a time so that they can manage the diary, it will be even better. I have heard your view. A number of members want to speak in the second round. I don't want to draw a line, and it's also past practice of the House Committee. I know that, well, you may want to have dinner and you have events to attend to. I understand your difficulties, and this is not something that happened for the first time today. Mr. Tommy Zhang speaking for the first time. Mr. Eddie Ju. Perhaps this kind of discussion will appear again after the second round, I think you need to draw a line. 8:30, 9:30. Well, I thought that I would give members as much time for members to speak, but it's taken longer than I thought. I hope that we will start with the second round. We can continue till next day. It will not end. I just want to give reasonably a long time for members to speak, for the clerk to make a verbatim record for the reference of the president. As I said, that if you can't finish what you want to say, you can send letters to the president directly. I don't believe that by having more meetings or extending the meeting even till tomorrow morning, we'll be able to cover all points. Mr. Tommy Cheung, I am going to dispense with first round because I want to hear more from members. If you're going to talk about meeting time, I have already made a decision. What's the point of order? I'm not talking about meeting time. Chairman, you said that the purpose today, well, we've all said a lot of things. It is to give our views to the president. Then you have to give us sufficient time, including those who proposed amendments on both sides, to explain. If you give us several minutes, we are not able to explain ourselves and we will continue, then you say we're filibustering. We can't get to the point. We can't express ourselves for the reference of the president. Mr. Tommy Cheung, who is not here, and Miss Ann Chan. Well, let me see how many people would like to speak in the second round. Mr. Alvin Young, how much time do we have in the second round? 2 minutes.
即係前後咧就係
So 5 minutes in total, and 5 minutes to deal with over 70 amendments. There are great difficulties. Before the short break, Mr. Martin Liao mentioned that it's an objective fact there are two different sets of legal advice. Yes, I agree. But we have to help the public understand this. There are senior councils engaged formally by the Legislative Council, and then there's a senior council engaged by the pro-establishment camp. So they have come with two different sets of legal advice. That's point we need to explain to the public. Now, second point is we still don't get it why, if you want to stop filibustering, you are also changing the rule on petition. If you think filibustering is evil, then what's so you want to amend the rules of procedure to stop filibustering, but what's so evil about the petition? We haven't heard that any views from the pro-establishment camp. I think you need to convince the public. Now, this is the only platform to conduct investigation in this council. Why do you want to block that channel as well? How has these select committees offended the pro-establishment camp? Why do these select committees make the pro-establishment camp feel so uneasy? Now, for petition, the process takes just a few minutes. So how is that a form of filibustering? I hope in the second round, the pro-establishment camp will seize upon this opportunity to convince the public as to why they have to block this very last channel for us to exercise check and balance on the government. Mr. Chi Hoi-tik, can I respond to Mr. Porter? I'm not saying whether your voters support your position, in agreement with your position to support these amendments. Now, if you are also running, you also ran for direct election, then you know about the ecology. And you know at the end which faction would have the support, majority support of the people. If you run for direct election, would you not respect the overall power balance instead of joining in to take advantage of us. Second point on petition. Now, some members said that in 1983, at the time, 20 members were the equivalent of half of the council. So, therefore, we should now also make it half of the council. Now, for the rules of procedure, we may sometimes state the actual number of members. For example, Finance Committee, the quorum is 8 members. But in other cases, they will use a proportion, like 1/2 or 1/3. So if actual number is put down, it's there for a reason. It means there are 20 members, and they are enough to represent a certain view. So 20 members can form a select committee without any legal investigative powers. But then there is a select committee with legal investigative powers, but that requires 35 members. So there's 2 different tiers of select committees. Why do you want to change that? Dr. Fernando Cheung. Well, they deny they are taking advantage of our plight. So you are not telling the truth, but while you want to claim the credit. Now, 6 members were disqualified, and there's actually no urgency, but all of a sudden you want to amend the rules of procedure when you did not rush in before. So just admit you're taking advantage of this situation. Now, Martin Liao said over the years the Pan-Democrats have been benefiting or enjoying the dividend of direct election of a majority rule. Well, if that's the case in any democratic country, the majority party has majority support, therefore they're the ruling party. So does it mean that they are benefiting from majority support rule? Now, what sort of logic is that, honestly? I don't know what kind of a legal viewpoint is that, and I don't follow your logic on democracy either. Now, Jasper Zhang said in his column on this battle about the rules of procedure, he's the title of his article is that it will only add to more hate. But that's what the pro-establishment camp wants to do. They want to use their powers to the full. They don't mind if it makes them look bad. Okay, at the end you win one-sidedly. And then you turn Hong Kong into an authoritarian society. Is that really your motive? Now, you've lost in terms of votes, but you want to have ultimate win. Is that the kind of democratic system you want for Hong Kong? Mr. Dennis Kwok. In the paper, the letter of Dr. Fernando Cheung, he proposes to amend Rule 59 and 69, capital A. But actually, for the amendments proposed by the 38 loyalist members, the schedule Appendix A, Table 1. There's no mention of Rule 59 and 68. I don't know why there's this discrepancy. Can I ask why? Who are you directing question to? The clerk for 69A and 59. 59 and 69A. Is in the schedule attached to Mr. Tommy Cheung's letter. But then when I refer to the Appendix 8, Table 1 of the crop report, I don't see amendments to these 2 rules. Yes, Matthew, can you answer the question? Yes. What Mr. Dennis Kwok said is right. Yes, it's true, the crop did not consider these 2 amendments at the meeting. So these 2 amendments were not discussed at the crop, right, Matthew? Yes. Why is it then we are considering here at the House Committee? because the chairman's instructions, the president's instructions that it must be a three-step process. It must first go through the crop. I was reading the document, and then also I found these two rules. I didn't remember ever discussing them at crop, so I can see now I'm right. For Rule 69A and Rule 59, they were not discussed at crop, not at all. So why are we then considering it here at the House Committee? Perhaps Mr. Martin Liao from the pro-establishment camp, you could respond when you're asked to speak. Can I ask Mr. Liao to speak first, because it's important? Mr. Liao, please. Can I respond in one go? Oh yeah, members may choose to respond in one go. Ms. Tanya Chen? Yes, we have studied Appendix 8. Table 1 is amendments by the pro-establishment camp, and then Table 2, there's also another horizontal table that's just to help members follow the different amendments. Now, Mr. Dennis Kwok mentioned one of my amendments. Why do I want to speak on that? Rule 9, that is that the president of the electoral shall be elected among members from geographical constituencies, and there must not be right of a vote in a foreign country for 7 years. Now, that's Mr. Ray Chen's amendment, but together, these are amendments, and the Secretariat believes that these amendments may not be directly in line with the basic law, and of course they did not say it's against the basic law. As for the forum for committee of the council, there are two legal advisors sought formally, and the pro-established camp also gave their legal advice. It seems that it's also about 17(1)(a). Can I ask the legal advisor, under what circumstances would the president decide to seek more in-depth legal advice? I'm not saying that the Secretariat's legal advice needs not be respected. No, that's not what I mean. But for Table 1(7) bracket 1A, there are two parts. Those are the ones that are suspected to be not in line with the basic law. And then it says here the president has sought legal advice from two senior counsel. So who's to decide on that discrepancy then? Yes, the secretary will respond later. Mr. Andrew Wen. Thank you. Mr. Porter said these are just it's just the quality of the legal advice, but there's a matter of judgment. That's what we care about. Now, the Legislative Council hires two senior counsel to give legal advice, and of course we go by that. If even for as there is a dispute, do we really need to rush? The House Committee Chair and even the President, I need to criticize the President too. There are some 70 amendments of different nature, but he groups them together. That's inconceivable. Now, of course, at the end, we just note the crop report. I know, but we need to explain to the public why we don't agree on petition. It seems to me this is vengeance from C.Y. Leung. Because the latest case of a petition with 20 members standing had to do with investigation into C.Y. Leung. Is that the reason why the loyalists are worked up? Well, I think the public can judge for themselves. Now, in a fully democratic and open city, there will be less disputes about these. For issues, for motion without notice, we'll leave it to the president to make a judgment. But that's fine in a democratic society. But for our president, do you think he is neutral? Do you think, you know, he always says, I've made a decision, so take a seat. He doesn't allow any room for discussion. So please answer to your conscience when you speak. Now this is my second round. I want to refute the amendments proposed by the loyalists, but I haven't yet had a chance to speak on my own amendments. I hope there will be 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds. And I hope you won't shorten the speaking time further, because already with 2 minutes are too short. Now, petition to increase the number of members from 20 to 35, that's just a proportionate increase. I think he's being a hypocrite. If it's an increase based on proportion, why do we want to lower the quorum then? If you want to increase the number, I always say the quorum of FC should be increased proportionately instead of 8 plus 1. If I propose that, would you support me? If there's no political motive, no, you won't say it, and you say it's nothing to do with filibustering, we're just spending a few minutes to stand up, so then we can set up a select committee. You won't even let us have that power? Even to this moment, you have not explained why you want to do it. Kwok Wai Keung just said it's a proportionate increase. Why is it that it's proportionate increase here, but not with other quorums? And then when I talk about the FC quorum, would you support increasing the quorum proportionately? And then some members attacked Eddie Chu. They said that 88-1 is the nuclear bomb. But 88-1 is a debate on procedure. It's a motion without notice. And that's voting by 2 groups. So how is it possible that he could trigger the nuclear bomb? I think we all know that. And 88-1 also includes the president. Now the Doyos is adding the president. Why are we not removing 88-1? Now, because in 88-2, the president may order members of the president public to leave any time and to order closing the door of the chamber.
Mr. Kwok Wai Keung, well, we all have our opinion on the amendments. I would like to respond to what was said. Well, whether it is the case that loyalists are taking advantage when others are in a precarious situation, I think that disqualification came because some members at the time when they took the oath or the affirmation add and delete certain things to try to win applause from their constituents, and I think that is the work of their own doing. So they are the creator of the situation themselves, and they blame others for criticizing them. They never admit that they are wrong. They never reflect on the situation. They only blame others. You will understand that, well, when we started the meeting, some members said that, well, we have some district events to attend. Well, when they filibuster, that's what happened to us. Now they feel they are in the same situation and they complain. Well, if they want to filibuster, sometimes we see Pan-Democrats leaving en masse. So don't just say that you have events to attend to. We have more events to attend. We are made to we are made to respond by staying there when you filibuster. Ms. Claudia Mo, I asked the loyalists to put their heads together to work out the line to take before they speak. Kwok Wai Keung said that it's not the case that they take advantage of the situation. And there was another gentleman from FTU saying that, yes, now someone's kicked out of the game after a red card. That's why we take a chance to do that. Martin Liu said more or less the same thing, saying that, of course, we kicked you while you're down because you asked for that yourselves. Well, without the interpretation of the NPCSC, there won't be any disqualification. Mr. Liu, who is a barrister, knows very well. When it comes to collocation, of course, loyalists are more than happy to emasculate themselves. But when it comes to filibustering, of course, they are more happy more happy to undermine your own power and do it very quickly as well, with a smile on their face, and even covered petition as well. I do see that sometimes they are schizophrenia. They talk about Westminster, which is an old practice. Well, it seems that they love the UK as well. Well, why do they say that it is 西敏寺 Westminster? And I see that nowadays it's been changed to 惠斯敏斯特 to represent Westminster. And someone said some nonsense that council is different from committee. The legal advisor said that because the essence, the nature, status, and functions are different, so you can't treat them as the same. Mr. Jeremy Tam, how much time do I have? 2 minutes. I refer to the documents. It's a big bundle. Anyway, it's an Appendix 5, as it's in a table. Well, it's a table. Table 2, the information from observation. Say, for example, the quorum 20. Well, there are 2 council advice. They've been clearly stated. The legal advisor said that they have given the legal advice. I don't see if there is any inconsistency between the 2 pieces of legal advice. My understanding is that the Secretariat, that is the legal division, agree the QC and the SC's view. If that is the case, how come we still have to argue that we need to seek more legal advice? Of course, you can show the legal advice to the President. But if it is done through proper channel, discussed by the crop, and consent to submit to the President, then I don't see why other members need to submit legal advice they have sought, because it clearly is not in line with the basic law. Mr. Charles Mock, I express regret on a meeting arrangement today because we're talking about over 70 amendments. We're not allowed to have a focused discussion on each amendment. And we can't express our views on legal arguments, legal advice. Well, anyway, we have 3 to 1 minutes. It is just for show, going through the motion to tell people, well, we have spent how many hours on this, to make it look like you have done a lot. But in fact, you haven't done anything because your arrangement makes us unable to do anything. You're wasting everyone's time. Your arrangement and the way the meeting's conducted. Well, yes, there is a corrupt referee. Well, the President may not be a corrupt referee, but the comments he has read will be of no use to him. You try to pull wool over the eyes of the public by telling them that we have spent this many hours on the discussion, and today there is no need for a vote. So it will be just left at that. On a number of times you use the same tactic to fool the public. It's useless. Why don't you give us sufficient time? Why don't you give members who propose the amendments to explain the amendments and then for others to comment on it. This will be useful to the president. You just let members speak and then we're criticized for filibustering. These views will be of no use to the president. But you think that, well, as long as members have spoken, that's it. Mr. James Toe's not here. We'll move on to Mr. Ted Hui. There are batches of amendments. One of them is that the chairman may terminate the members' speaking time when the chairman's view is that the member has abused the meeting process. But what if that is done by the chairman? What can we do? I would like to hear from the loyalists. If a chairman for no reason stops someone from speaking, someone from speaking on a motion to adjourn, what is to be done? Can the public trust that chairman will not abuse the procedure? Well, it says that president may decide whether to allow motion by not giving motions without giving notice. Well, how is it amended? That it has to be done with the consent of the president. That means without the consent of the president, nothing can be done. That means you emasculate your own power. You have handed all your powers to the president to let him to become the corrupt referee. There are some amendments saying that, well, presidents will now may now decide the matter to be put to a vote without discussion. What are you so scared of that you don't want them discussed? And you have amended the rules in a way that things don't have to be debated on at all. I do think that the more you discuss it and debate on it, the clearer the issue is. You see how ugly the loyalists are, how they undermine our power, how they emasculate the power of the legislature to allow the administration and the president to do whatever they want. Dr. Kokaki. Well, we see people can be more shameless than what they are the minute before. They have done everything to ensure that the Chinese authority, mainland authority, will exercise over our jurisdictions on us. There are over 30 members from the FC. Some of them have got no vote at all. They just roll over and become a legislator. And every time when we have a council meeting, they nod off, only wake up only to sleep again. They don't even know what's going on. Please wake that person up. This is what is happening. This is happening here. And they have enough seats to make sure that they pass whatever they want. Pan-Democrats have no other ways but to use filibustering to show the public how ugly the situation is. For a petition, well, 20 members will have to rise in their place for a select committee to be established, because if you rely on rubbish like that, it will never be set up. Let's look at CY Leung. The more investigation there is, the higher he rises to. Well, he is the deputy chairman of the CPPCC. What happens is that CY Leung shows us that it doesn't really matter that you're corrupt and you are not afraid of investigation because we can't touch you. I feel embarrassed for the Secretariat and the legal advisor. I don't know if you've asked yourself what you have become. You have sought advice from two councils, and they said something that is unconstitutional, and you allow them their views to be accepted, and they will be forwarded to the council for discussion. There is no rules whatsoever. There is no decorum. It's not something that we have never seen before. We have Tong Chi-Wah, we have Donald, we have corrupt Zhang, we have 689, we have 777. they have been given a free rein to do whatever they want. And they can even say that there is a cap on PRX units at 800,000. And you take away your power to monitor them. Of course, loyalists will be happy because you can always sink lower, because they love to be degenerates like the Communist Party. Well, all rubbish will be endorsed in Let's Go. It's just like the NPC. Well, you just clap your hands or you just say aye and everything will be endorsed. Mr. Roy Kong, history will note down what is happening today. If rules of procedures are amended, then the views of Hong Kong people will not be expressed again. Well, we can see it. It's rather rushed. It's 7:30, 8:30. I don't know what is going to happen after that. We're talking about very important changes, and you make a very rash decision, and you just quickly collect some so-called views. Say, for example, Article 75, quorum. We need a lot of time to discuss that. We know that loyalists would like to try to segregate a committee from council. If you look at rules of procedure, you know that council decisions and committee decisions, they're all in the same line. In short, the position of a committee is similar to that of a council. You said that no. Well, Article 75 only applies to council, not committee. For committee, it's open for discussion. That is very dangerous. Many members have talked about petition. Petition came from the House of Commons in the UK. If 20 members are concerned about a topic and want it studied, then it can be done. If you want to raise the number to 30, then it's like a bill. It will only take you 2 minutes. We're only given 2 minutes. And we're asked to explain how dangerous these amendments are. We have to explain to our constituents. We have to explain to them that these amendments will take away our power. Next time, maybe you will cut it to 1 minute or 30 seconds. Dr. Kokaki. Ms. Dari Lee, I think everyone can see what you're doing, and everyone can see how ugly loyalists are. You try to compress this discussions. We're talking about over 30 amendments. 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and then 1 minute. And then you say, that's done, it's discussed, and we've given you the opportunity, and you just give up your opportunity to speak. Now, those over there are just there to raise their hands. They're yes men. They have got the same training as delegates of NPC. They will remain silent so that they can profit from it. They are stooges, minions. We put up with them. We put up with them, and the council becomes a toothless tiger so that they can do whatever they want. So for things they don't, for things that Hong Kong people don't like, say for example Article 23, and they take away justice, democracy from Hong Kong, and in future FC meetings things will be easy. White elephant projects and 30 billion projects, 300 billion projects will easily be approved. That's why I said that you can always sink lower. Well, we have a lot of there is a lot of money, and a lot of people are waiting to get a share. And we need to defend justice. We need to stop these dirty tricks from taking place. We don't have enough votes. We want to stop them from taking the advantage of the situation.
Okay.
So do you know how to spell shame? Go and learn how to spell shame and see how you can face people of Hong Kong. Dr. Low Wai Kwok speaking for the first time. Thank you, Madam Chair. I've been following the arguments put forward by the non-establishment camp, but there are so many flaws in their logic. But before I go to the flaws, I want to express that regret, first of all. Now, since we want to discuss amendments to the rules of procedure, why did you have to disrupt the order of this meeting when causing injuries to our security colleagues? Now, I don't know how serious the injury of our security colleague is, but I want to send him my regards, and I must strongly condemn the non-establishment camp for causing such a chaos. Now, the non-establishment camp complained that we proposing amendments, but then the non-establishment camp itself has also proposed amendments. Just now, Mr. Dennis Kwok was trying to explain the amendments. So it's up to you to move amendments, and we can move amendments too. Maybe we'll support some of your amendments as you might support some of our amendments. Why do you keep criticizing the pro-establishment camp for moving amendments? That's the first flaw of your logic. Secondly, why do we want to amend the rules of procedure? In the past few weeks, in the chamber, with the non-established camp has done a perfect demonstration as to why we need to amend the rules of procedure. They even invoked Rule 88.1, 54.4, whatever. And even yesterday, for the energy efficiency labeling order, they invoke a 41.2 to move a motion to adjourn it. So they have demonstrated perfectly the need to amend the rules of procedure. So please, can I appeal to the non-establishment to come back to a rational discussion? I don't know why you're complaining so much. I don't understand it. But I've received many messages on my phone condemning the chaos created by the non-established camp. Yes, I'm angry too, but even if I'm angry, we should discuss the amendments calmly, and don't just keep blaming us for this and that. Because I see their flaws in the logic of those members who spoke. 20, the figure 20. Why do we have views on that? When the rules were first drafted, 20 was half of the membership, but no one ever invoked this rule. That's why perhaps then we forgot to amend that number with an increase of the membership. For the quorum of the committee of the council, yes, I think we can debate that too, Mr. Porter. Here I would like to focus on petition. Compendium 7.48, paragraph 7.48, that explains in detail the historical background. That is for the minority, they could use the petition process to make a claim. In 1968, it was 10 over 36 or 38%. 1970 something, 30%. And then 41%, and now 20 over 70 is dropped to 28%. It's a very low threshold. That's why we need to make changes. And then in the past, we don't have such well-organized committee structure, so affected persons' cases could be discussed, like Timothy Tong, C.Y. Leung, and so on. Now there are proper procedures to deal with all those cases. In the past, if we do it through the PMP, that's the proper way. It's not the back door. It's not. We shouldn't go through the back door to target certain individuals in what they have done. This is not what the council should allow. Because if you have enough justifications, you can go past the PMP threshold. If you don't have a strong enough case, then you shouldn't go through the back door. Now the threshold is so low, it's unreasonable. That's why we don't just want to target filibustering, but even for some unreasonable and outdated arrangements, we want to make improvements. So don't just look at the superficial case. Let's consider reasons for the amendments. Let's have a rational discussion instead of just pointing fingers at us. Now, I think for this set of amendments, it's true it may limit the powers of this Legislative Council, but sometimes we have to take poison so we could kill the tiger in us. Now, for 69A and 15 Rules 59, they are not new amendments, they are consequential amendments. It's because we want to amend the quorum of the Committee of the Council. Well, that's not an equal of the Council. The Committee is not equal of the Council. In terms of its functions, roles, and status, it's certainly different than the Council. And after the Committee considers, then a report should be made to the Council, and the Council may accept or not accept the report. So Rule 59 is consequential amendment. And in fact, we should first look at Rule 58. And we say that if the committee has completed all the procedures, and then one member may report to the Council the outcome of the deliberations. But we are just amending it that instead of saying a member, it's a member in charge of the Bills Committee or a government official in charge of the bill who will make the report, that's all. And under the existing rules of procedure, after a report is made, then that's considered the third reading has been completed. But we're just saying that the Council should receive the report first. 69A is about the supplementary appropriation bill, because appropriation bill is also a bill, but then there is a difference in terms of submitting the report or in moving a motion to accept the report. The motion is moved by a government official because the appropriation bill is a finance bill. So it should be the government official to move the motion. You have a last round to speak. Point of order. What is your point of order? Mr. Martin Liao refers to Rule 58(12) amendment. I know about that, but what about 58(12), since you're talking about it? In Table 1 of Appendix 8, can I ask the Secretariat this? Because I don't see Rule 58(12), but is it truly a consequential amendment? Because you're giving the power to an official which he does not have now. So what was the discussion at CROP at the time about this amendment to Rule 58(12)? Well, as it's pointed out, at the meeting of CROP, there was no mention of the amendment to Rule 58. I understand that it was after the CROP meeting that Mr. Martin Liao proposed consequential amendments. Mr. Dennis Kwok and other non-establishment camp members also submitted new amendments after the CROP meeting. So I think the President will consider all of them. That is, these consequential amendments, whether he will accept them and whether they're in order. I want to find out more because it's important. Because the President has said that for all amendments must go through the three-step process. Now, for 58(12), 69A and 59, they have not been considered formally at CROP. That's the first point. And I see that for many other amendments proposed now, they have not gone through CROP. Now, it's only from recollection. For example, bracket 12, I remember we didn't talk about it, even if we did. Now, it's been proven that a few of these amendments are not really consequential amendments. There are substantive amendments. So if the pro-establishment camp wants to amend something, don't just try to slip them in this way. Because some of these amendments I really have not seen before. Because if the Secretary didn't point out, we wouldn't know. Mr. Martin Liao, is it a point of order since I've allowed Mr. Dennis Kwok to speak? Yes, can I respond to the point made by Mr. Dennis Kwok? In my letter to the House Committee Chair, I pointed out that we have had regard to the discussion of the crop, and so we've enhanced some of the proposals to make them to improve upon them. And also, if necessary, we have proposed the consequential amendments. Now, the President has written to all members before moving motions, enhancements, and consequential amendments are allowed. It's the third round. Has everyone pressed the button? So I'll draw the line here. Mr. James Toh, Mr. Wu Chi-wai not here. Ms. Claudia Mo, 1 minute, please. I'm drawing a line here. I asked you before, so I'll have to stop the discussion after that.
Ms. Mo, I think 3 rounds will be sufficient time for members to discuss the matter. If you have any other views, as I said, that even with 7, 8, 9 rounds, it will not be enough. You can approach the President directly. I have said many times what the purpose of this meeting is. You can approach the President to express your views. You don't have to just use this meeting. You can send a letter to the President or go to talk to him. Speakers of mic, Ms. Tanya Chan. Under what circumstance will you approach external counsel for advice, and under what circumstance will you use legal advisor from the Secretariat? Can you explain? Connie, in reply to Ms. Tanya Chan's question as to under what circumstance will we seek external legal advice, that is for the President to decide. It's difficult for me to speak for the President. Ms. Claudia Mo. Mr. Dennis Kwok, I noticed that the Secretary General said that Pan Democrats propose amendments, and there are further ones. Yes, they have all been discussed in crop. We have not proposed any new ones. SG, anything to add? This will be the last round. I don't have anything to say. Just now you said that we have submitted consequential amendments. We did not. There are only 39. The President sent letters to members before the 21st. If there are consequential amendments, it's for the President to decide. Ms. Claudia Mo. The more I hear about using legal advice as a shield, the more I think it's sophistry. Well, the difference between the council and the committee, according to legal advisor, is that some legal advice is that their functions and their status are different. Mr. Dennis Kwok raises this point, and you said that this is consequential in nature. No, there are legal advisors saying that this is substantial, and it has gone beyond the discussion of the rules of procedure committee and this and that. And I think, please, you need to be conscionable. You are a father. You have a job here, but it's the same person. It doesn't really matter which hat you're wearing. You're a human being. You should be responsible. A responsible person, Mr. Ray Chan. There are 70 to 80 amendments tabled here. You have given each person 6 minutes to talk, and we have to debate. And I haven't even gone to my own amendments. And you pretend that we have already reached step 2 of 3. The loyalists want to amend the rules of procedure, using the chance that they are the majority. And you don't have to say anything. Just press the button. It's just like, well, I'm robbing you because it's for your own good. It's for the good of Hong Kong people. Just now the FTU said that, well, those who are disqualified ask for themselves because they are explicitly or expressly and implicitly support Hong Kong independence. And they then now talk about challenging sovereignty. Well, You say that he is a covert separatist. Do you know where you are when he engaged in activities to protect the Diaoyu Island? We have to protect our rights and our duty and our power to monitor the administration. Mr. Eddie Ju, I only have my last minute. It really is beyond me. I want to say this to Mr. Paul Deh. Just now he said that there needs to be rational discussion. Mr. Dennis Kwok said that if the goalpost is set by Andrew Leung that there should be 3 steps, and now we can see in plain daylight an obstacle thrown by Martin Liu. You're the chairman of crop. You need to be fair. Don't move the goalpost. You require the set by Mr. Martin Liu to be discussed in crop so that you can follow the 3 steps properly. Can you give me that undertaking? Just be decent like a human being. Mr. Charles Mock. Mr. Paul Deh explained to us that there was a rational discussion on this matter. Previously, the threshold was 20 people, and so it has to be raised. It sounded like it's in accordance with convention, but at the same time, they said that amending procedure is something to do with to stop filibustering. But petition is nothing to do with filibustering. Objectively speaking, what happens is that we will not be able to set up select committee like we barely managed to do on Timothy Tong and Hong Kong TV and also C.Y. Leung. This is our only chance to make sure that there are investigations into improprieties and things that are not going right. You want to take that away. You admit yourself, Paul Deh, that this is to undermine the work of the LegCo. Mr. Dennis Kwok. If you're talking about a rational discussion, then look at what Pan-Democrats are doing. We want to help disabled persons to get better access. And some amendment is to set sign language as an official language of the LegCo, which is done in a lot of other countries. Is it because they are proposed by Pan-Democrats that you find that unacceptable? Because you're a loyalist? They may be proposed by Pan-Democrats, but at least give us a chance to explain. Or is it the case that you don't want to hear anything from us? Paul Deh said that, well, using petition is using the back door. If we can't use PNP to set a select committee, it is going through the back door, then a lot of committee or subcommittees simply should not be set up in the first place. Mr. Ted Hui, just now loyalists said that, well, you proposed amendments to the ROP as well. I want to talk about what these amendments are. We want to respect the fundamental rights of Hong Kong people, to take full account into international human rights conventions, and that, well, there should be judges to witness as procedures. What are the amendments proposed by loyalists? To allow the president to abuse power, to restrict speaking time of members, and to restrict the right to move motions. That is to emasculate your own power, because you want to turn LegCo into NPC. You want to turn LegCo into a place where there is only one say. Pan-Democrats will not budge at all. I think you declare war on public opinion by trying to amend these rules. Pan-Democrats will fight, even though there's only one man standing. Dr. Kokaki. Well, they said that, well, if you want a select committee, then do it properly. We tried. Say, for example, the investigation into Timothy Tong or C.Y. Leung. The first time we lost because loyalists wanted to protect this group with vested interest. not many people may agree with separation of power, but Hong Kong has it. It is it's our core value. You want to take that away, you are undermining Hong Kong's core value: freedom, democracy, justice, and rule of law. You're taking them away one by one. If you love Hong Kong, then you should protect Hong Kong. You always say that if you don't like Hong Kong, simply leave. Well, then I ask these people, the rich and powerful, to go to Beijing. You don't have to spend time on anything. Everything will be endorsed. Dr. Fernando Zheng. Just now, Paul Jie, the chairman of CROP, said that 20 people is enough under petition to set up a select committee is to take advantage. Well, he is the chairman. It's written into the law, and he said that it's to do it by skipping the procedure, taking advantage. I don't know whether there are any rules at all. The loyalists want to amend the rules of procedure. How? To change the petition. They want to increase the threshold from 20 to 35 people. When it comes to quorum, they want to reduce it from 35 to 20. So they want to undermine their own power and to reduce their responsibility. Mr. Kwok Wai Keung, just now, Mr. Jeremy Tam, well, just now they said that Mr. Paul Jie said that changing the what we're trying to do is going through the back door by using petition. I think he is the one who's trying to use the back door. I don't understand. I don't think a normal person would not be able to understand Mr. Jie's logic. He has slighted petition to liken it to going through the back door. I really cannot agree with that. When it comes to Timothy Tong and CY Leung UGL $50 million, the public would like us to investigate into these matters. And this is the only power we have left to do it. And he cited numbers of what was done in the past. I've never heard anything about 50% and above. Then how come he wants to raise it to more than that? Mr. Roy Kwong, it's also about petition. In the past, the requirement was only 20. It's about matters of public concern, say for example Timothy Tong and CY Leung. And it is something that's worth keeping. Paul Jie said that is not something good. It's just like Jeremy Tam said that, well, perhaps he wants to be the chairman of the back door. Said that that came from the House of Commons to help those with grievances, and that's why the number was 20. It's about just over 1/3. If you raise it to half, then it is too high. So we have to consider whether there is a need for petition to stay, and so there is no need to raise the number required. Mr. Paul Jie, the duty of a legislator is to monitor the administration and to scrutinize the law. When it comes to carrying out investigations, that will be the last resort. By using the back door, I mean that you have to go through PNP. That is the design of petition. They are not used in our tradition to look into this kind of things. Say, for example, Mr. CY Leung or Timothy Tong. Well, they have to be investigated by the ICAC, but not PNP. And if they can't use PNP, then they use the back door by doing it through petition. That's why. And I will consider carefully whether there is a need for these amendments. Don't forget that it was the President's decision to follow the 3 steps. First, Article 75 of the Basic Law in relation to the quorum of Council and that of committee, because there is a different requirement of quorum for different meetings. Mr. Wu Chi-wai. When it comes to petition, backdoor or not, well, there are only 2 avenues that we can use. Well, there are only 2 occasions when we have used it. That's what happens every year, at most. The Democrats are the minority here, and this is the only way we can use to do something, to monitor the administration, because we are accountable to our voters. Do you think that investigation into CY Lang should not be done by LegCo? Should we not look into whether he has abused his power, whether there is dereliction of duty? You want to increase the requirement of forming a select committee by way of a petition. This will undermine our power to monitor the administration. If you say that we will never use the power, if you say that I will always defend the administration because I'm a loyalist, I want to give you a word of warning. Well, you may help those in power, but once your use is exhausted, they will turn on you. We have the power to monitor the administration. You want to take away our power by amending the rules of procedure. When we have lost the power, what role and what use do you have? Did you not consider that? It's clearly shown in our history. When your use is done, then those with power will turn on you. And when you want to use the power, you'll find that it's not there. You know, the one who first started filibustering was loyalists.
Last one is Mr. Alvin Young. Tanya Chen, well, she's not here. Okay, this is the 3rd round. There's a lot more we want to say, but I don't see that the chair will give us another chance, or you would just give us another minute at most. Here we're talking about some 70 amendments with far-reaching implications, and we have just a few minutes to discuss them. I'd like to take this opportunity to ask the pro-establishment camp, do you think once this is done, it will be all good? How are you going to report to the powers who support you? I just want to put on record here, even if you can amend the rules of procedure, unless you exterminate the entire pan-democratic camp, or unless you defeat us in elections, otherwise you never get what you want. Because we still have strong fighting spirit. You may amend the rules of procedure once. Let's see if you can win it the second time. Do it the second time, because when we get our majority again, we will certainly amend the rules of procedure again. Now, Dr. Fernando Cheung has submitted a temporary motion. As I said at the beginning of the meeting, for amendments without consensus and crop, individual members do not need the agreement or consent of the House Committee to move the proposed resolutions. They could give notice to the Council in their individual capacity. Although some members have already given notice. Now, Dr. Fernando Cheung asked where this committee to express whether we support certain amendments. I don't think there's a need. Well, Dr. Cheung, I'll allow you to read the motion, but that's my ruling, so I'll give you a minute to speak. Based on which rule do you prevent me from moving this motion? Because my motion is clear. Let me read it out. Yes. This committee notes that the crop submitted a report on proposed amendments to rules of procedure. Now, in the light of the content of the COP report, including the legal advice and sought by the President, that the lowering of the quorum of the Committee of Council may be against the basic law. So this committee does not support this amendment. That's just stating a position. So I just want the committee to state a position on the crop report. In accordance with which rule do you prevent me from moving a motion? Well, there are no specific provisions in the rules of procedure about a motion. So based on the content of the motion, I have come to a decision. That's my decision. I know you may not agree to that. I know members still have other views, and members would like to give additional views on the various amendments. But as I said from the outset, this discussion is not to ask members to state whether you support or not individual amendments. And I understand some members have already given notice to the President asking to move the amendments in their own capacity. So if you still have other views to make, please, within a suitable time frame, express these views to the President and the Secretariat. And that's the end of the meeting. I hope members will understand the way I handle this meeting and questions from members. I need to strike a balance between giving members a chance to speak and conducting the meeting efficiently. I declare the meeting closed. Thank you.